Okay, wait 1 minute. I'm so certain that I had a cape around here somewhere. Hello, I'm Jenna, and you're watching a WWM Productions video, and story time. This is the year 2020, and the year 2020 means that this is the first year since 2009 without the release of a MCU movie. And because of that, with Black Widow gone far away into the land of delayment, and I have no idea when WandaVision comes out because I don't have Disney Plus, I'm in a bit of a missing the Marvel Cinematic Universe moment right here. And if you're like me, you're kind of conflicted about that, because on the one hand, you've grown to really love those movies, and their presence in your life and their constant release has kind of been just a constant in your life in this variable sea that we all are adrift in, and now in our moment of most need, they are nowhere to be seen. Like superheroes. But also, you're kind of glad for that moment, because you really hope that they're taking the time to take some creative liberties and just really breathe, and that when those movies do return, we won't be tired of them because we'll have missed them for so long. So, the purpose of this video is to highlight 5 superhero shows, there's one book, film, media, art in general, that if you're missing the Marvel Cinematic Universe, go check these out instead, because you'll satisfy your fix and get some superhero goodness in it. So, number 1 on this list is The Umbrella Academy. It's on Netflix, and it's been around for a while. It has 2 seasons. Pretty sure there's another one happening. I don't know, I feel a little bad about including this on the list because I have not seen the 2nd season. And I know that sounds like blasphemy, but I have been dying to watch it, but I just haven't had the time, but it's been on my mind. But The Umbrella Academy is a really niche and strange show. It's not your average superhero story. It follows a group of adopted siblings who have been adopted by this really strange man who has goals of adopting all of these superpowered children who were all born at the same time on the same day, despite the fact that all of their mothers had not been pregnant when that day started. And it follows this really estranged and just broken up family as they're dealing with the death of their father and what that means for them, and with the trauma and abuse of their childhood, and just trying to be a family again and whether or not that works. But the characters on this show are so good. Like, it's a character-driven superhero story that I just think is done so well. So good. It's not what you're expecting, and just does not have the usual staples that you expect of the genre. I love the style, I love the vibe. It was so different when I watched it, and I had to take a break from watching it, and all that day, the only thing I was thinking about was, gosh, I wonder what's happening next on The Umbrella Academy. Like, it was just so good. I had no expectations for it, and it just blew me out of the water. It was such a good show. I highly recommend it if you're looking for kind of like a dark comedy that says something, if you like family relationships, and like there's humor. Oh my gosh, the humor in this show it's not like your quippy MCU type deal. Like, good show, really recommend it. And number 2 on the list is the book series Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Yes, it's me. I'm including books in this list yet again. What did you expect? I almost put this in my last video, but that video got really long, so I cut it out. So, of course I'm going to talk about it here because it's just so good. It's so dynamic. If you're someone who doesn't like books, I highly recommend giving this series a try. Like, this is the 3rd book. It's thick, but they're so good. They're action-packed, dynamic. The characters are so good. They drive the entire story. Look, there's the 1st book, and there's the 2nd book. Yes! Renegades by Marissa Meyer follows Nova Artino/McLean. She has a secret identity because she is dead set on joining the Renegades, which is the superhero society that monitors the city. They are the superhero police, but what they don't realize about her is that she is secretly the family member of the anarchists. And the anarchists are the people who have originally rose up against the society that said superheroes are bad, and they fought for a place for people like them to be safe, and her whole story arc is that she is infiltrating the Renegades, but then she accidentally meets the son of two members of, like, this superhero council that's totally not Justice League, but, like, for sake of explanation, think of the Justice League. And the two of them meet. What she doesn't know about him is he is dabbling in vigilantism, which is illegal. And it's both of these two slightly morally gray characters who are trying to find themselves in this world, and they play off of each other without even realizing it. And first of all, just if you like secret identities, if you like vigilantes and morally great characters, boy have I found the book for you. Like, there's so much to enjoy in it. You have the villain's side, you have the hero's side, who's really right in this scenario, and just the plot is so fun. The books are pretty thick. Like, they are longer books, but they go by in a snap. I'm realizing now as I'm talking about superhero movies that, like, a snap could kind of have, like, a bad effect on people, but, like, anyway, these books, they're so fantastic. Marissa Mariah does such a great job, and you have, like, your stereotypical hero kind of journeying down a dark side, but then you have your morally gray villain who's kind of on the edge, like, starting to realize, like, is what I always grew up with wrong, or is everybody else wrong? Like, it's just so good. You'll constantly be kept into suspense. It's like a comic book, but it's words, and so good. You just get drawn right into it. It's so good. Number 3 on this list. I'm back to movies. That was the only book, I promise. Sorry, had to do it to you. But number 3 is the movie that I think is so near close to perfect that I just tend to round it up with the change and just call it perfect anyway. And that movie is none other than Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because my goodness, one of my favorite movies ever. And sure, technically it's Marvel, but you know what? It's Sony too, and, like, it's not MCU, so therefore I get to put this on this list because I found out 2 days ago that it's apparently on Netflix, just waiting to be watched. Like, what? It's on Netflix now, so I can watch it whenever I want before this trash year is over and actually feel something again. This movie is so good. Like, I don't know what to tell you that you probably already haven't heard. Like, but if you haven't heard about this movie, have you been living under a rock? Like, honestly, like, the animation is on point. It's so good. It's just so beautiful, and there are so many shots that I just want, like, put on, like, a billboard so I can stare at them for, like, years. This movie is just beautiful in every sense of the word. Like, the story, the animation, the character arcs, all of it, just, yes. And the score in this movie is just balls to the walls, amazing. Like, you have your original score by Daniel Pemberton, and oh my gosh, he does such a good job. I've been listening to it for a while, for days now while I'm writing, and it's just fantastic. So good. It uses so many leitmotifs, and it implements the score by all of the different artists that they had as well, and it just does such a great, fantastic job of making it sound like a superhero, but it's also in its own right, and it's so distinctly like Miles Morales and the Spider-Verse, and it's just the musical identity of this movie alone is just so fantastic. And of course, like, the voice acting with the animation, just everything about this movie sells itself so well, and it's just a powerhouse of amazing. Like, at the end, you really just have that superhero good feelings inside. Like, this movie is just so, it's such a happy place for me, because it's so good, and, like, it just really just perfectly encapsulates everything you want when you open a comic book or read about superheroes or see them on the screen, and it's just so good. Number 4 on this list. 4 on this list is Watchmen, the 2019 edition. And in all honesty, I have not finished watching this show. I'm only about right in the middle of it, and when I tell you this show is a show unto itself, I mean it. And I know nothing about the Watchmen. I've always been more of a Marvel person, so I really don't know that much about the DC canon, so just let that be warned. I'm really only just talking about the 2019 version, but this show is really, really relevant to where we are now in the year 2020, and it is so important. It has opened up a lot of different questions, despite being a very strange and different America than where we are right now. I think it's also incredibly poignant to where we are currently, and again, like, I haven't finished it, so I can't give total thought into what it's saying, but what it has said so far, it's really thought-producing and just provocative, and I think it's a really well done show that deserves a lot of credit for what it's doing so far. And just on the superhero side, like, it's technically not superheroes, but we're bending the rules a little bit because I think it fits the criteria for what you're looking for. But it also has those thoughts, those thinky times where you're really using your brain, and first of all, you're just trying to figure out what on earth is happening in this show, but you're also thinking, like, hey, why does this sound similar to me? But it's just super strange and intriguing. Like, you have borderline vigilantes, and, like, the line between good and evil and, like, lawful and illegal is just really blurred, and, like, the longer you keep watching it, the more confused you get, and you're like, who should I be rooting for? And it's always, like, getting into your head, and I think it's just such a wonderful show, and it's confusing, but in a good way, and I just think it's fantastic. I'm still curious to know what's going on, even though I haven't watched it in a week, and, like, it's driving me mad, like, oh my gosh, where is this show going? And even though it's not, like, your traditional superhero show, I think it's just really fantastic, and I can't wait to see what happens to it, and it's just one season, too, so once you've watched the whole thing, it's over, and it's not that large of a time commitment either. Why not give it a try? It's something different, it's something fresh, and I think that's something we could all use right now. And number 5, to round out this list, is The Old Guard. It's a Netflix film based on a comic, and I really did not think I was going to like this movie. Like, honestly, like, I get all the emails for Netflix in my house, and I read the email saying, like, The Old Guard, and I saw, like, the tiny little clip about what it was about, and I was like, nah, sounds stupid, won't watch it. And then I found out more and more about it, and I was like, wait a minute, this is about immortals? What? So then I watched it, and I had a really good time, because this movie is just so fun, and I really should not have discounted this movie. Like, I just thought it was fantastic. Like, immortal fiction gets me. Like, there are so many tropes in this movie that I'm just a sucker for, and again, it's not quite a superhero flick, but, like, these people are immortal, and, like, that's close enough. It's an action movie, too. And, again, like, I generally don't watch a lot of action movies, and I could still appreciate, like, there were a lot of good, like, action set pieces, and, like, I thought everything was executed really well, and, like, even though there wasn't necessarily, like, superpowers and everything, I just thought it was really well done, and even I could appreciate it, and it was just a really rad time, and the characters, like, again, really drove this movie. It was not as dumb as I thought it would be. I just thought it would be, like, a stupid little action movie that all it did was just explosions and punching people, but that's really not what this movie was, and I was so pleasantly surprised by that. And I mean, I don't know, I'd probably watch it again, honestly. It was a really interesting idea. The movie just constantly escalates, and I just thought it was really, really, really well done. I had a super fun time. All of the characters just worked their way into my heart, and I'm a major history nerd, so I just thought this was a really cool movie. But that's my whole list, but I have one thing I want to ask you. What should have been on my list? Because when I was looking into and thinking, what should I put on this list, I realized there's so much superhero media that I haven't seen, so what do you recommend that I watch? Because honestly, I bet you guys have some good recommendations, so tell me, what's some good superhero media that you want me to watch? Anyway, that's it from me at WWM Productions. If you liked this video, give it a like. If you have something to say, leave a comment. And if you're so inclined, even subscribe, because we're going to keep making content. We have a podcast that we generally upload on Wednesdays, and between me and Ava, we upload videos every Sunday. So thank you all so much for watching, and until I see you again, bye!